Welcome to ABR and our product presentation about the compression products on the X platform. My name is Annette Hopland and I'm product owner for the hardware compression portfolio. So before we jump into AVC and HEVC compression, I'm starting to talk about all our compressions on the X platform, and we got everything from uncompressed inputs to our lightweight compression modules and up to the more complex modules, which is AVC and HEVC. And we have other presentations about JPEG XS. I'm not going to cover this here, but what you normally should consider when you're looking for compression is what your application is, and we're going to cover that a bit later in this presentation. But be aware of your bandwidth limitations and the latency requirement, because the lightweight compressions, they have lower latency, but they require quite high bandwidth. So the AVC and HEVC compression is complex, but it can reduce the bandwidth quite significantly. So high efficiency encoders can reduce the bandwidth compared to AVC with about 50%. And the thumb of rules is that high compression rate, the lower bit rate, the lower latency, the higher bit rate. So even for HEVC, if you're going to go for ultra low latency, you will require high bit rate. Okay, and also higher resolution, like UHD will require higher bit rate than standard definition. Okay, so let's move on. I'm sure you are familiar with our X platform already. It's very flexible and dense. And on the front, we got two MMI modules where we have data ports and control ports. And on the rear, we have an option to put in a large range of different modules. And today we're going to focus on two of them, which is the SDI module and the IP module for AVC and HEVC compression. And for uncompressed or IP, we can support 10, 25 and 40 gig link speed. And we got 12 slots for the X20, and we got six slots for the 1RU. So let's look closer at the modules. The SDI module has up to 8 SDI connectors, where you can compress or decompress 8 services. And you don't need just the hardware. Of course, you need software images as well and licenses. And depending on what kind of input you have or output, you can encode, decode for broadcast using the SDI, or you can transcode for ABR or broadcast, and you can also encode for ABR and OTT applications on the SDI module. And the number of channels can be limited by your licenses, so you can reduce costs by reducing the number of licenses. The IP module, we support 2110 encode decode, so 2110 input for the encoder and output for the decoder. We got ST2022-6 encode for SDI or IP. For broadcast, our ABR encoder can do JPEG XS TS input very soon. The transcoder, on the other hand, can run on both modules, as it takes inputs and outputs from the backplane. Yeah. So, what kind of application does this module fit in? It fits in for classical contribution, where you have live events and satellite or fiber transmission to the studio. In this cases, you probably like to use HEVC and ultra low latency, which is end-to-end latency less than 200 milliseconds, but still at a quite decent bit rate, around maybe 100 megabits per second, which is significantly lower than for JPEG XS. And of course you can fit in satellite modules and demodulators into the same chassis as your encoders and decoders. We got remote production, where you have many cameras at the stadium, and it transmitted over fiber to the studio for processing. And there as well, the ultra low latency encoding fits very well with its low latency. And we made something special for video assistant referees. VAR applications, a specialized synchronization scheme, where you can make sure that the frames going into the camera leaves this in the same order after it's decoding after transmission. And that makes it perfect for slow motion replay in VAR applications. Yeah, and mezzanine encoding is where you put the equipment at the content provider's place, and there you have to be sure that it's reliable, and also this high density is a very good fit for remote production. And mezzanine encoding. All of our input modules can be fit in, so depending on your need. And we can get bitrate quite significantly low, even in normal latency transmission, which is less than 2 seconds end-to-end. And there you go, for UHD all the way down to 12 megabit with very good quality. And of course we got 40 8-bit, 10-bit video support. Transcoder can transcode from any of our input modules to an output on any of our output modules. It's used as a resource pool, so you can have a large number of channels automatically allocated across the boards. It's seen as a pool. And it's also built-in redundancy. And so if one board breaks, another one take over. The same feature is actually available for SDI encoders at the moment. And there is also other inputs and output redundancy built in. And finally, ABR encoding and transcoding. If you need multi-resolutions and bit rates for OTT applications, with IP outputs, we can offer very low latency, less than 2 seconds in a normal mode, with great video quality and all resolutions from sub-SD up to UHD. And inputs are either compressed for the transcoder, it's JPEG XSTS, coming now for the encoder, and of course uncompressed SDI. So, why choose hardware encoding? And that's because it's very environmentally friendly and reliable. So it uses a very low power to encode, and it's very dense, so you don't use much of the rack space, and therefore also you don't need that much of cooling. All in all, very environmentally friendly and low operational cost. The video quality is great, and even though you're adding another channel, you don't compromise on the already encoded signals. So, of course, there's also hot swappable modules and a lot of built-in redundancies. So all in all, it's a green solution for coding video. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions, please contact ABR.